Mel, do you think you're communicating?
Some people feel I'm communicating an awful lot.
Well,
A lot of people want to tell me that they're God, too. I get a lot of that. I say, well, if you're God, I'm going to be God, too, man. You know, that's all right. I arouse something. At least somebody wanted to be part of what I said I was part of, or wanted to be what I said I was. It's very strong.
if people resent the fact, and people do, of one individual calling himself God, using that word, why do you think they resent it?
Because they haven't the courage to call themselves that. And then live up to it. That's the hard part.
What's the initial step?
Birth.
Is this order you have created here? Is it necessary to a certain extent to protect yourself? Is it there to protect you?
Not protect, but there's a lot of people I could spend a lot of time talking to and not get very much done, and not do other things that are more important. So I do discriminate.
Do you think we're in a holy age? I mean, do you think 1968 is a holy year? Do you think we're entering into a new second coming era?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What evidence can you give me? What are the signs, what are the manifestations of this around us?
This community. It's the most obvious one.
And outside this community?
The avatar. You know what the avatar, what the word means.
Mm-hmm. Are you the avatar, or is the avatar more than you?
It's not more than me, no. And sometimes I'm the avatar.
How real do you think I'm being with you, then?
You're being realer all the time. I mean, I'm really enjoying this. I mean, you know, you're really reaching.
When people meet you, not in this, just in this kind of situation, not this situation, do you find that your presence inevitably helps them to be realer?
Yeah.
And in this sense, you are saving them.
I'm helping him.
Why did Christ let himself die?
Because it was time for other people to take up his work, and they wouldn't do it until he was gone.
Didn't he know that what has happened would happen?
Yeah.
Isn't that a drag?
No.
Why not?
Because he's still the example.
Mm-hmm.
That's the greatest thing a man can be.
Is there any necessity for a Christ to be crucified?
There's a necessity for a man to be crucified.
Have you been crucified?
Sure. Every time I'm misunderstood. Mm-hmm. Which is all the time.
It was one of those long, hot, slow summer days when you sit around and you don't want to start anything. Mel brought some coffee beans with him, but we had no coffee pot in the house. So we collected all kinds of parts of all kinds of dishes. And Mel put a perfect coffee pot together. And we have the Colombian coffee. We thought we never had better coffee. Even Eben drank it, interrupting his brooding on unfinished drawings and scratching and rubbing. We collected enough energy to go uptown with Mel Lyman.
were other than that have gotten married? Do you feel that there's a need to do that?
I'm sure then I would have. I mean, we tried to then. Now I wouldn't bother. Now I no longer feel the need for a legal license to marry, to live with a woman and have children.
Well, now you have communal living here. Do you feel that this indicates, as it does to some of the members of public audiences, that you might be living a life of promiscuity here?
Well, I mean, they could think that. If our doors are always open and we invite people up here, and they'll see that we're not, that we have very strong moral codes, and we don't believe in free love and free sex, but in the highest principles of love, and that's what we're devoted to.
Well, do you feel that perhaps your age group is a more mature type of hippie? Do you think that the younger set trying to emulate you and your activities is what's creating?
I wish they would try to emulate us. I think they will as we spread the avatar and as we become more known. I hope that the younger, more immature hippies, if you want to call them, will emulate what we're doing here. I mean, that's why we're doing it. We're trying to set up an example that everyone can follow. And we're trying to show them that it does work, that you can do what you want to do, and very successfully. And just, you know, it's good, it's beautiful. And the people up here, all the people up here are working together. And I've made friends up here in the past year, that so many friends and closer friends that I have ever made in my life. And I'm 28.
This gentleman is Ian Frankenstein. Is that your correct pronunciation?
Well, Ian Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. I presume that is your given name, right?
That's my given name, yes.
Ian, you're a member here in the communal dwellings on Fort Hill. How does it strike you as compared with ordinary society? Since you are a former student, you've been exposed to the other sort of society.
Well, I have a great deal to compare to. I have my life in San Francisco, where I just recently came from about 3 months ago, where I was a student in music at San Francisco State. And since there's music here, too, there's a tremendous amount to compare and contrast to, which has been very, very valuable for me. My whole 4 years of study and my type of music, I'm a composer, as opposed to what is taking place here.
What do you feel about this promiscuity, this communal living without the legal bonds of matrimony?
I don't see how it really exists. Well, it does in the minds of everyone who accuses us of this promiscuity. But I think it's just the whole question of education, of people, education in a very liberal sense, of people opening their minds more and seeing that this thing really does not exist.
On the subject of opening minds, have you ever been exposed to or participated in any form of drugs at all?
Yes, purely for experimental, and I've learned, and now I'm going on to not further drugs by any means, but it was something I've learned, and now I don't need it anymore.
How about marijuana? The hippie group that do smoke marijuana will continue to do so?
Oh, I think so, because I think everybody feels, or at least the so-called hippie feels, or anybody who uses marijuana feels that there is a good to it, and as long as this feeling prevails, just like we feel the avatar is something good, as long as this prevails, we will continue to press for our acquittal in the courts.
Well, you feel that there is some good in marijuana, and yet you yourself stopped using any form of drugs?
No, I have not necessarily stopped using marijuana. I don't depend entirely upon it, as...
He drinks a lot of wine.
Drinks a lot of beer, too.
Yeah.
Lou Crampton is an East Asian expert. Lou, that's a pretty fancy title.
A lot of people up here. That the challenge is greater here, and that this
where
is...
do you put this type of knowledge to use in communal living?
Well, challenge is not so much, I mean, one learns things from Asian religions and Asian forms of organization, but really I've left a lot of that, except for what I'm doing on the side right now, and I'm trying to put what is my activism and my energy to use here in a kind of a communal environment, in a communal setup.
Are you more satisfied in the surrounding?
I'm more satisfied because I'm an active kind of person who loves a challenge and who loves a fight, and who wants to work out, work head to head against problems in a real life situation. Now, it would have worked. The Asian life would have worked out fine for me had I been able to pursue my studies further in, let's say, the State Department or some public service capacity in the government. But as I see the way the government is set up now, and particularly the State Department, which is a dead place right now, I found that I couldn't be myself. I couldn't do what I believed in and do what I wanted to do in that environment. And so I had no choice. I came here, because here all of us are free to be ourselves and
This young lady is Sofia Gibbons. Sophia, what are your reactions to communal living?
You like it?
Oh. Oh, yes.
It works.
It works. It's
You feel that this is a happier form of life than any other you've had
It is
before?
for me.
You feel more freedom here?
Oh, yes.
What made you decide that this was the place to find this happiness?
Mostly Eben.
Mostly Eben?
Yeah, my husband.
Mm-hmm. Now, how does a housewife in a communal dwelling provide the necessary groceries? Where does the money come from?
Well, from everyone. I mean, everyone contributes money, and the men go out to Haymarket and they get food from that's left over.
It's appropriated in various ways.
Mm-hmm. Everyone contributes money and food.
Find there's any stress in all this living from day to day?
Yes and no.
What kind of stress, what kind of problems do you run into? What are some of the biggest obstacles to this type of living?
Well, children, and there's so many things to do and not enough time.
You find that when people find you living in this type of an environment, they take a dim view of you? They disapprove of your actions?
Well, they haven't.
You're accepted in the community?
Yes.
This young lady is Patricia Keating. Patricia, have you ever experimented with drugs at all?
Not very much, no.
What little that you tried, did you find them acceptable, or did you quickly cast them aside?
Well, I just haven't experimented that much. I can't really give you a good answer.
Do you find life more refreshing in a communal dwelling like this than in the other forms of society?
Oh, yes.
Why so?
Oh, many reasons. People are a lot closer. You have a lot more contact with the other people in the dwellings. And life is easier.
What do you hope to achieve? What will be the final end to this? Are you going to start a whole new community and have people like this make cities of their own, or is this going to stay on a relatively small scale?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
What are you going to do to try to bring this about? How do you recruit these people? Or do you deliberately recruit people?
No, we don't. They just come, and if they want to stay, they stay, and if they don't, they don't. If they don't fit in, then they don't stay.
Do you have a great percentage of runaways that drop by your community in hopes that they can move in here?
Runaways? No.
Do you ever try to discourage anybody from joining your group?
I don't know.
If they're not ready.
If they're not ready.
No.
Would there be any particular requirements to joining a communal group like this?
No, not really. Except, Heidi. I don't know. You'd have to ask one of them. I haven't been with the community that long. See, I can't really answer that sort of question.
Where did you come from originally?
Rhode Island.
There's too many of these things for us. What do you think of it?
It's all right. It tells your...
I think people should read it before they make any judgments.
Yeah. It gives a lot of information, but it's not for parents. I don't think they'll approve.
Please don't. It's too
It's good for the kids, you know.
Yeah,
Kids believe in it. It's a reasonably good publication. I don't like Mel Lyman's albums. He does a lot of the stuff. I certainly think it should be sold.
Why don't you like Mel Lyman?
I just don't, his whole attitude is first to business. He's just too mystic, too involved, too self-oriented for me. And he's doing too much in the paper for my interest. But I certainly think it should be sold.
Thank you. Are you getting out of town?
Now, I think all boring publications should be censored, and the editor is so boring.
Well, that's only personal opinion. How do you know?
Mel Lyman thinks he's God, but he
there are
couldn't.
some people who don't think it's boring.
Mel Lyman couldn't be God because he doesn't write well enough. It's as simple as
Well,
that.
is it necessary for God to write well?
It's just a waste of time to this whole confrontation.
But that's
seems
only
to
for
me.
you. What about the people who don't believe so?
Okay.
How can you condemn a paper
Okay, I'm
because
not
you only
condemning
feel
the
that
paper. I just think it's boring, and so I don't want to get involved in the
Okay, then
whole
no
thing.
problem.
Okay.
Boston underground paper Avatar was busted by... People live communally on the hill, where all of them, or at least most of them, work on Avatar. This is the water tower, and this is Eben Gibbon, who's kind of guru number 2 and the artist in residence up there. This was a very vertiginous interview. The water tower originally, and then built into a Revolutionary War monument. What is Avatar, really?
Avatar is our expression. I can't really tell anybody anything except that they should read the paper to find out. You know, I mean, that's what it is.
When did the paper start?
We've been going since June of last summer, last June.
And you've just recently become editor of the paper. Avatar, as far as I know, means the bringer of new messages or a spiritual, a kind of spiritual rebirth, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little like Messiah or something like that, but it's like the spirit of God on earth manifested, you know, in a thing, and this is like, you know, this is a tangible manifestation of spirit. That's exactly what Avatar, what the paper itself is, and that...
You have, in a sense, a central sort of piece, a sort of crux to the paper. Something that drives you all together, I've noticed. What is this, Wayne?
It's mostly embodied in Mel.
Mel Lyman.
Yeah. In that almost all the people who work on the paper, well, everybody who works on the paper is directly affected by Mel. Everybody who reads it is obviously directly or indirectly affected. And we all came together as a result of knowing him, pretty much.
I first read some of Mel's things in it, and he seemed to be a fantastic egotist. But then I read more and saw more into what was happening.
Have you talked with him yourself and sort of found out more about him personally?
Well, he's a very hard man to get to know.
If there was anything you had to say as a kind of summation or crystallization of what he stands for, what would you say?
Well, he mainly wants to make people get together and be real as they can.
I don't really understand the way he's treated more than, I think if I really talked to him, I'd probably understand him directly. But there seems to be sort of, on Fort Hill, a reverence about him. He's protected almost in a way. And there's all sorts of formality that seems to go on. Not formality, that's the wrong word. There's no formality at Fort Hill, but maybe ritual of sorts in a way. Which to me is a little incongruous because the people there are the most direct, sort of honest, straightforward people that I know. And when you meet Mel, you expect to meet some strange character, someone really, after reading about, I am God and things, someone very, very different. And he isn't. He's just he's casual and real and responsive.
Why do you think there is this surrounding ritual? If you had to give a reason, what conclusion have you come to?
Well, I don't know. I'm still, I have to watch some more. I'm usually very quick at making decisions, but I've really been thrown this time.
Ron was talking about this egotism thing of Mel's, and I sort of think of it as Mel is putting himself up on a pedestal, telling people, I am right, I am the truth. And he's trying to get a reaction from people. And I think the reaction he would like to get is to have people say, no, you're not the truth, you're not God. And that no one should be up on a pedestal.
He is completely in control. He can put himself in control of any situation if he wants to. Now, when the first few times I met him, I mean, he wasn't doing this at all, he was just letting things go. But I noticed that yesterday when we were in Mel's kitchen, the first thing he did when he came into that room was to just raise the intensity of the whole thing.
I think Mel has a very strong sense of how to be real.
I sort of get the image of a father figure.
I've never met Mel, and as far as I'm concerned, I never want to, but it's nothing personal. It's that he's not a god, but it's more like the Wizard of Oz.
Everybody that I've met on Fort Hill is incredibly aware. And if these people trust Mel Lyman, you see, that really puts Mel Lyman in another place.
I was sitting up there on the hill, and he's saying, I'm God, and every man that I know, Wayne and Ed Fox and Brian Keating and all the guys who have any kind of knowledge of Mel, all can see that what he really is in our small society, our small community. He's acting as our theologian, the man who is reminding us of our spiritualness. Like he's my preacher, like that's his job, in the evolutionary scale of man's jobs, right? Your job, Dave, is like finding out what's happening and bringing it to the people, right?
If I turn around to you and say that my job is to be God also, is it then a competition as to who's the best at being God?
No, but nothing would please Mel more. Wait a minute. Nothing would please Mel more than to have everybody come around and say, man, I'm God. Because, like, as soon as you can look a man in the eyes, like, really get in there and look and see that this man is not afraid of you, like, any man that can look at Mel is God, okay? Like, if you want to find out whether you're God or not, go look at Mel, or go look at any man who says he's God. You can look at Maharishi Masamushi, and still find that same thing out.
How do we judge whether he is a benevolent God or a benevolent strongman? And who is there to judge if he is God?
Only you, man. And you're going to find that out when you go up there tonight, because you're going to look at him right across from the table, and you're going to look into his eyes, and you're going to see whether he's benevolent or not. He may just fart, like he just may not even care to talk, because that's his reality. He tried, like it's in his head to be his real, as real as he possibly can.